Okay, good afternoon everybody. Welcome to another round of Shop Talk. I'm going to make this a quick kind of like a tutorial or a tip video. I had a friend wrote me from back east and goes, hey look, I'm just kind of getting into MIG welding and stuff. And look, I want to weld some pipe together, but I want to make it look seamless. And without buying, any fancy jigs and all that stuff, do you have an easy way to do it? And I said, yeah, I'm going to show you what I do. It's very quick, it's very easy. Now, you're going to need a piece of angle iron, and you can get that at any of these thrift places. They're going to throw it out anyway, so for a few bucks, rather than throwing in the dumpster, they're more than happy to sell you quite a bit of it from mismatched bed frame rails. Like I always say, it's nothing structural, but I'm not using it for that. And actually, let me see, I'm going to tell you how wide it is. Most of them, about 1.5 inches. I just measured this one. I'm going to pan down in a second and show you. And I'm going to tell you how we do it. So let me pan down. I'll explain to you what I do and how I do it. And it turns out pretty damn good every time. Hold on. Okay, let's take a look here. You're going to see there's this big piece of angle iron right here. I have it setting in my vise over here. And then I'm going to put that pipe in the valley of that angle iron. Let's get a close-up and I'll explain to you what I did and how you can do it. Okay, now let's take a look. Now, here in the valley of this angle iron right here, I have 2 pieces of pipe. Now, I used my grinder and I ground a little chamfer, a little bevel all the way around on both pieces. And at the same time, you're kind of weld prepping it. You set them in this valley and you go, okay, now I'm ready to weld. Well, no. I tried that, and I'm going to tell you right now, I made errors doing this, so I don't want you to make the same errors. You want to use clamps. Hang on, I'll show you what I mean. Okay, now you're going to see a clamp here and a clamp here, and that holds it down with a lot of force. And then I have, if you look over here, those 2 joints are together. Now you're getting ready to weld. Okay, now let's take a zoom in and let me show you and explain to you how to weld this. There's another little tip here. And believe me, I've made the mistakes, so I'm just showing you how to avoid them. Give me just a sec. Okay, so we have the clamps on, and now you're going to turn around, you're going to take your welder. I'm assuming MIG welding, okay? Now I have it setting on the vise like I showed you, just on the jaws here. And there's another way to do this, I'll explain in a minute. But you're going to put a little tack weld on the very top, put one on the very side over here on the far right, put one on the far left. Then release your clamps, spin this around, put the clamps back on to hold it down with force, and put another 1 or 2 spot welds. Let it cool down, okay? I know that sounds weird, but I'm just telling you what works for me, and I'm sure it'll work for you. Let it cool down, and then you can put it back in this trough, or this V part here, and then I can do my weld like this. And then I can spin it over and I can weld, and this is steel, it's not going to burn up anything, you're not going to hurt anything, and I go around the whole thing. Now when I'm done and it's cooled off, I take my 4.5-inch angle grinder, and I'll usually start off with 60 grit, and I start grinding back and forth on this, and you'll get it down to where it is almost touching both pipes. Then I switch over to 80 and you go right around it. And pretty soon that seam or that weld will start to vanish on you. Then when you take it off, and you hold it and you look straight down this thing like you would a piece of lumber, you're going to see it's nice and perfectly straight. Now if you want to, after you put these tacks on there and before you start welding that seam, I'll back up. If it's a little off, you can clamp it into your vise and you can tweak it a little bit, and then you can set a level back on here and say, okay, now I have it perfectly straight. Then set it back in the V here, this trough again of this angle iron. Start your weld, roll it, weld, roll it, weld, done. It's kind of that easy. So I'm going to go over to questions and answers. Now one of the things I was asked is, why do I just set it on my vise like this when I could actually, you could actually make legs for this and make it more permanent? Well, I don't, because I don't weld a lot of pipe. But if you were welding a lot of pipe, what you could do is you could take a piece of rectangular steel like this, and you could weld them onto the bottom here. Put one on each side, and put one, put two on the other end, and you'll have a stationary pipe welding jig, I guess you could say. I don't do it that way. I just take them back out. I put them in my metal pile when I'm done. I use them for projects because I know anytime I want, I can grab a piece of this angle iron and I can do this again. All I got to do is just add the clamps. That's all you got to do. Okay, here's one final shot where you can see all I do is I have it sitting in the vise and I got clamps. There's the seam where I want to weld, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Let's do a couple questions and answers. Okay, next question is, can you use rectangular steel and do the same thing? Yeah, you sure can. Here's a piece of rectangular steel, and you can see where I've hit it with that angle grinder, and I've cleaned it all up, and I beveled it just a little bit. Now, I could drop it like a diamond into that trough, and I could put another one the other way and join them together. There are two cautions here where people run into trouble. You don't clamp it down, it moves on you, you weld it up, and then you go, oh look, it's crooked, and then you're mad, you're pissed off. The other thing is, after you clamp it, by not tack welding it like I told you, tack weld it on the far right, far left, and in the middle, and like I say, tack weld it, and then roll it, and then put a couple more tack welds. Let them go ahead and cool down, then go ahead and start joining your welds. And you can leave it in that piece of angle iron, and you can weld it and turn it, weld it, turn it, weld it, turn it. You're not going to mess up that angle iron when you're done. You put it back in, your metal pile or whatever, or like I said, make a stationary one and keep it around for the future. But yes, you can use rectangular steel. You can use, well, it's limited to what you want to try. I would tell you anything like that you want a perfect alignment for, put it in there. After you've done the tack welds, let it cool down a little bit, pick it up out of there and take a look down it just like this, and you'll see that sucker's probably perfectly straight. Now if it's not, I can put it in my vise and I can pull it just a little bit or tweak it and then turn around and look back down it, or just settle level across it or whatever you want to do, and you'll see, you'll have it in no time. And then you can go ahead and start adding some more tack welds if you want to, or just start welding it. That easy. I hope that answers your question. Okay, anybody else? Questions? Let me take a look here at the forum for a second. I'm going to pause this. I don't want to miss anything that I think might be important to you people, so give me just a sec. Okay, there's another question here. Luckily, I have some of those Harbor Freight magnets. Somebody in the forum wrote, you can take two of these Harbor Freight magnets. They look like this. And you can set them on your workbench like this, and you can use this same groove, and you can run those pipes together and you can weld them. I haven't tried that. I don't really think that that's a good idea. I think you're asking for more trouble than it's worth. These are incredibly handy. They're well worth the money out at Harbor Freight. I got two large ones, and I've got four of the smaller ones. I pick them up when they're on sale at the coupon, yada yada yada. I would not use them for that purpose though. They come in handy for lots of other purposes and holding metal while I'm welding and everything else, but not for joining two pieces of pipe. I understand what you're saying, but it's not something I would try. It's just, I'm not telling you don't go try it. Go try it. Like I always keep telling you, don't be afraid to fail. Before I figured it out, I didn't tack weld at first, and it was coming out all bent, and I was having trouble. So yes, I've screwed up enough things before I learned the right way, and my way is not the only way, but it will work for you. That's what I'm trying to tell you.